It's close enough for cigars? No, I don't. What's the phrase?
For government work?
Bingo?
I haven't heard that one before.
Close enough for scotch? No. So anyway, hi.
Well, hello.
So you're back in the kitchen today.
Look, I'm trying to record something here, all right? No, I don't know. It's just a couple of dumb kids. I'll be home as soon as I can.
Yeah, I'm back in the kitchen. It's kind of a mixed thing because there's more noise around here and all that, but I have better access to food and alcohol.
Well, and you're trying it. So John sounds different on every episode lately, but he's working on different
Microphones.
settings and interfaces and Googler glogglers. Okay.
Yeah, for anybody who cares, I went to a conventional microphone instead of a USB microphone, which I've used for years and years and years. And I never liked the way that it picked up lots of background sound in the room, and just thought I could do a little better. So,
And maybe it was having some driver issues or something.
I'm sure if you've listened to all of our episodes, all three of you, you probably noticed that my voice sounded really crappy on one of those. And that was after I did a lot of stuff to make it sound less bad.
Processing.
Yeah.
Accessing.
Made me want to try something a little better than that. Right now I'm basically using a USB microphone interface with a mystery mic that picked up somewhere, and it's kind of an off-brand thing. So hopefully this will be a little better, but we'll see if it masks the room echo, because I am in a kitchen.
You probably need a Chinese mic.
That's what you have?
Sure, because they make these pretty good mics that are really cheap.
Yeah, you're on that MXL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the reason I always think of those is years ago when I used to do sound for the park service, for the park board here.
Yeah. They had some of them?
That's where I first saw the things, because they were really cheap. They were one of the first times you could get really cheap, pretty good quality condenser microphones for like picking up choirs and strings and stuff like that. And so we bought a bunch of them, and that's probably why I told you to get them then.
You probably told me to get this one.
And they were first shown to me by my late friend, actually, because he's no longer with us, unfortunately, Kevin Milner.
Yeah.
Kevin ran the sound and stuff out there. He was the head guy there, and he was kind of an independent sound and lighting guy. My favorite thing about him, besides that he was just a real character, was that business, when he did contract work, was called RFL Sound and Lighting. You might think, what does that stand for? What it stands for is real fucking loud.
Which park? St. Paul Park Board, right?
Minneapolis.
Okay.
Yep. And I laughed my ass off when I first heard that, because it's on that's his actual company name, and he said, well, nobody ever asked me that, so I get away with it.
They think it's somebody's name. Or an
exactly.
acronym.
Yeah, I guess people don't even think to ask. And so
well, you would.
Yeah, I don't know why we spent quite a bit of time together for a few years there when we were doing sound stuff, and it just came up. I just thought that was so funny.
Didn't you do sound at the band shell at Como Lake too, or was that you were in a band there or something?
I played there a few times as part of like a concert band.
Yeah, right.
But no, I've never run sound for the St. Paul.
Okay. Well, somebody has to.
I'm not even sure they had employees. They seem pretty cut rate.
I remember somebody sitting at the board at some concert, but I don't know.
Yeah, they probably do. I'm just that was always the knock on St. Paul, is that they were really cheap.
Frugal.
Yeah, thrifty.
He had the Scotch by sound.
Scotch by sound systems. Lots of duct tape.
They didn't even have the Chinese mics.
What's down from a Chinese mic? Actually, probably there's
Korean?
course, today, who the hell knows?
North Korean mics.
Because if they made a microphone, like if you see pictures of Kim Jong Un, and I noticed that the more of a despot the leader of a country is, the larger and more numerous. A larger number of microphones at his podium when he speaks.
So why do they need that many microphones? There's only one channel.
It looks like he has like 30 of them just sitting there all clustered together, and they're really large.
Oh, sure. Well,
it's a penis compensation thing. And I noticed, again, not to get into politics too much, but I noticed that Trump's microphone is a lot bigger than Obama's.
He probably said I need a bigger mic.
No, probably. It's like, what is this? Because, microphones are really, they don't have to be very large these days.
No.
Fancy technology. But he probably saw what they'd been using, and so like, get that stupid thing out of here. I want the biggest bazooka you can put on my podium.
Solid gold Trump mic.
Well, gold mics are another thing. My wife watches that show Empire. Have you heard of that?
Yes. Actually, my wife has watched that as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I've seen a couple.
Intermittently seen it. I don't really have the interest to watch.
Well, I don't think I've watched a full one, but
it's basically a music soap opera.
Yeah, hip hop.
But I noticed the hip hop artists, they all have fancy gold microphones.
I think we need some gold mics.
That must be a thing.
We need some gold mics.
But back to the Chinese thing, it's back in the old days, of course, the really old days, since I think we need to write a song about kissing the past's ass, since we do it every episode.
Well, right. Although Loud Wainwright has a line in one of his songs called that.
Maybe since you've met him, you could ask him.
Yeah, do a cover.
Mr. Wainwright, could you...
What's that name of that song? I think it's called Old Friends, but it's not. Oh. It's kind of acerbic or something. It's like, I haven't listened to it for a long time, but it's kind of like the old friends that are like, why are we still friends and kissing the past ass? We have nothing else to talk about. So maybe we don't want to.
Don't go there. Yeah, that's interesting.
Fun fact. When a Minnesotan says, that's interesting, they don't think it is. But John's originally from South Dakota, so who knows?
So I'll finish my rant.
Yeah, Chinese mics.
Growing up, you'd hear the expression cheap Japanese quality. You remember that?
No.
Made in Japan was kind of a derogatory thing.
Well, right. Yeah.
Like when we were kids, not recently.
Sure. And there was the big made in USA.
Or over the years, it became, something else, and Japan stuff, especially in electronics, considered the good stuff was made in Japan. Sony always made Japan was good, and for example, I got my first electric bass in the 80s, and that was a Japanese-made Fender.
Yeah.
And at the time, that was the low-end one. And the good ones, more expensive ones were made in America. And then years later, everybody says, oh, yeah, the Japanese ones were better than the made in America ones were. And now, of course, it shifted to Mexico and China.
I have a Mexican Strat.
Yeah, that's right, which
on my
is supposedly better than you thought it was.
Well, it was stuck in the closet for a while, and I thought it was kind of screwed up. But I had somebody look at it and fix it up, and
I don't think there's that much you can really permanently screw up on those things.
Well, he cleaned it up really well and tightened the springs and maybe replaced a couple things. But he's like, yeah, this is worth a lot more than you paid for it. Oh, okay.
I should really do that with my jazz bass.
Oh,
that I got.
Sure.
That was my graduation present. I got to lay off the MSNBC shit.
Oh, my God.
Chris Matthews has particularly hard balls.
No, graduation present from high school.
Yeah.
And which, sadly, I don't really play anymore because it's one of those things that I just never need.
No, you can plug it into your interface now.
I could. Maybe I will try that just to see what it does. But it's one of those niche instruments now that nobody does. It's the thing that it's become known for, besides my former, well, maybe still, bass playing idol Jaco Pastorius,
Sure,
played on one of these. It shows up on a lot of '80s recordings, like pop music.
yeah.
If you go back and listen, I mean, it's usually partially buried under a bunch of drum machine stuff. But fretless electric bass was a real thing in the '80s.
Well, did you have one modified at some point?
Yeah, actually, this one I didn't. To buy one factory fretless was really expensive. And I bought it fretted. I had that for a number of years, and at some point I paid a guitar tech to pull out the frets.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's the same thing. People do that.
Sure.
But, of course, after the novelty wore off, I stopped playing it. And, of course, it would be more useful, oddly enough, today if I had not had the frets pulled out.
Well, right. But it
doesn't matter.
It was the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. I got some mileage out of it, and you never know when I might need it again.
So what's the difference? I mean, what's it just sounds different.
Between a fretted and a fretless?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do sound different, of course. They have this kind of twang to them. They almost sound like an acoustic bass in that way.
Yeah.
The glissandos on them are super smooth, of course, because you're not rubbing against a bunch of pieces of metal on the fingerboard.
I don't know. You could still use that, I think.
And they just have a unique sound to them that's very twangy and funky sounding. That's why in jazz fusion they were heavily used.
And that was jazz fusion was more 80s.
That it had its peak in the 70s and 80s.
Okay. Well, it'll come back, John. Hold on to it.
You never know. I mean, people are still, for all I know, playing it, but it's pretty niche.
Yeah. Well, we could use some niche in some of our songs.
One of these days it'll show up in a song and you'll know it.
Okay, good.
But the gigging I do today, all they want is acoustic bass.
Yeah, the big uprights.
Because that's
boom, 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 boom.
There are times I wish that I could have some stuff to do electric on, so I'd have an excuse to buy an instrument. But I think it's less common to have that instrument. So, or either that, or I just only know people that do that kind of music. Maybe
that would be like pop and rock and
yeah. Of course.
You don't get a lot of those gigs.
No, I don't get any of those gigs. My drummer friend plays a lot of rock and roll gigs, but he's much more of a generalist.
Well, maybe,
but he also doesn't play classical either. So I guess we all have our.
Maybe his bass player will need to go to North Korea and you can sub or something.
North Korea. Yeah, would we go to war? Why would he go there?
I don't know.
He's gonna
just for fun
work for Trump hotels.
He's gonna play the bass there for the
he or she
diplomat.
One of them's a she.
Diplomatic. Yeah, I shouldn't say they will go to.
The thing is, they all sing too, which I'm never gonna do. So
the bass players.
Yeah, quite a few of them do.
No, is that the new thing?
I think it's always been a thing.
I remember David Byrne played with, and one of his things I saw was a bass player that sang. I don't remember what her name was, but African American lady that was bald, and back before being bald was in.
Especially on a lady.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Well, even for men back then, I think that was still mullet years.
It wasn't quite as cool unless you were Patrick Stewart.
Well, right.
Right. So, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I don't know. How are you? I'm all right.
I'm okay. The traffic has been a pain in my ass.
Well, for people that don't know, that I guess all of our listeners are in South Dakota, but our every single bridge is being worked on right now.
Yeah, or in some state of demolition.
Or gone. Yeah.
Yeah, that whole, well, of course, there's they have to do it all at the same time. So my big pains, I bitch about my traffic on this thing way too often.
Well, I don't know.
So I have to get on Interstate 94 to come home. Right now, they're rebuilding the sound wall there that's, up on the side of the road. So
yeah,
we don't have to hear the freeway as much. And that's all being rebuilt. So this week, at least, the on-ramp is closed. Due to some really weird routes and stuff in that area. the most rapid way for me to get home is to actually drive all the way through like the North Loop and the Mill District in downtown.
Oh, wow.
To get on 394.
Oh, wow.
And partially because all that backed up traffic has clogged all the other ones, and there's just lines and lines of cars trying to get on the road.
Well,
that's blah blah.
Every bridge is closed. They're redoing the 35W 94 interchange things, which really needed a lot of help because it wasn't designed well initially. Many years ago, they did that for a few years. They took off the 62 35W interchange, and that's a lot better now. But they just got to take everything down and build up new things.
Yeah. So it's progress.
Yeah, but for a couple years it sucks. Well, there's even bridges, down around here too, but in good old St. Paul.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, that High Street one is out, right?
Yeah, the High Bridge.
Not High Street. High Street is somewhere.
High Street. Pot's legal there.
I was.
Or it's decriminalized. So funny.
I was walking.
Well, sometimes you go down the cave there.
Oh, that's right down by the cave. Yeah, cave is where I play sometimes.
I meant caves.
I was walking across campus today, and a car drove by me with the windows down, and there was so much pot smoke coming out of that car. Just like, whoa.
Dude.
You guys just are not concerned at all.
Well, even in Texas, okay, so Canada legalized it, right?
Is it?
I think Canada legalized it through the whole country. Can you imagine the immigration problems they're going to have now?
They're all moving to Canada to get high on pot.
Well, and to escape what's going on here.
Jeff Sessions will figure out a way to get him, though.
No, I hope he can save us. He does look like an elf, but whatever. But
the evil Keebler.
Ebler. We'll just say Ebler. Oh. He's the Ebler. No, but even in Texas, I think they voted to. I don't know if it went through all the way yet, but some of the Republicans are putting a decriminalization.
Really, I didn't hear that. Interesting.
Well, there's the libertarian, bent down there, like in Western South Dakota Republicans. There's that libertarian vibe. I'm kind of surprised that some of them aren't trying to push that more in South Dakota, but whatever.
Especially considering how reliant South Dakota is on non-income tax revenue. Well, they just had their big Supreme Court win today with the sales tax thing.
Oh, what was that?
They passed a law saying it was that everybody had to charge sales tax if they sold to somebody in the state, and it was challenged, and the Supreme Court upheld it. So basically,
is that even like Amazon and stuff?
Oh, Amazon probably already was doing it, but
yeah,
a lot of outfits that didn't have any presence in the state were still not
because the brick and mortar thing.
Overall, it's probably something that had to happen.
Yeah,
just because so much is going online that sales taxes are just going to get crazy.
Well, and if your state tries to only fund the entire government on sales tax,
let's not forget about our great former state on how they love to tax. They're so insistent on not having income tax that they tax groceries.
Yeah.
Which I think is just bullshit, but.
Well, it can get complicated because some groceries are taxed here and some aren't, and I don't know.
Pretty much, if it's not prepared,
right,
it's not taxable,
and the scanner can figure it out.
The computers have no trouble figuring that shit out. I didn't think, growing up, it didn't occur to me at all, and then I moved here, and suddenly it's like, oh, actually, why the hell do they do that? Oh wait, it's because it's more regressive, and that's what they like there. So.
Clothing and whatever.
Yeah, we don't tax clothing, of course, in Minnesota either, which I think is a little bit more debatable than food.
But, maybe underwear.
and I don't know how you would, if you were trying to make it a little more fair, like, this, you don't pay tax on a Fruit of the Loom or a Brooks Brothers suit.
Or some kind of fancy hipster pleather thing. You could have a hipster taxed.
Yeah, you could say maybe if it's above a certain dollar amount, but that gets tough to administer, whereas but food that's
some people like fancy underwear. A bazillion thread count.
I think the thing about food is that my argument is that even it's so regressive because even if you buy the finest unprepared groceries you can get, it's still not a rich person is never going to spend as much as a proportion of the, you know what I mean though, like so it's going to hurt a proportion of your income. It's going to hurt a poor person much more.
Sure.
Than a rich person, even if the rich person is buying the most expensive things at Whole Foods or whatever they can get.
Yeah, I think you're getting into math there.
Fuzzy math. That's our former, not as bad as we thought President George W. Bush said.
No, fuzzy and funny. Oh, that was even Reagan was into that too, wasn't he? That yeah. I think Reagan was the one that started questioning facts. Fake math, and then it became fake news, and I don't know.
We're evolving.
Well, back then the Democrats were upset at the FBI. Now it's
well, that's the funny part is if you remember history at all, they hated the FBI back in the Hoover years, and
yeah, sure.
They were not ever known as a left-leaning organization.
No,
that's why this stuff is so crazy.
It fits the narrative.
Okay, out of the politics. We're not going to be those people. I'll wait until
we have to edit that out because you can't say those people.
Those deplorables. So what are you drinking tonight?
So why are you calling me right now? I'm working. No, I don't know where that is. I don't know where you put it. I didn't move it. Did you look on the counter? In the junk drawer? Okay, I don't know where it is. When I come home, I'll help you look for it. All right? No, I don't know if it's loaded. Look, I have to go now.
I'm drinking a Bernie Sanders.
Feel the burn. So you bought some really high-proof, cheap whiskey.
It's a Democratic Socialist.
It's basically what, Everclear?
It's vodka, right?
I guess. Yeah. Well, at that point, it's all academic.
Oh, sure. No,
150 proof hooch.
And no, I am feeling the burn. No, just the old time to lean tonight. But I have
time to lime.
Time to line. Whoops.
You invented the fucking thing, and you don't even remember what it's called.
I couldn't pronounce it a gimlet thing anyway. Now I can't say the time to lime right. Well, okay. So after our last episode, I did end up getting a Soda Stream because I was I'm not a gadget guy, but I was like, man, this is I'm spending this. I'm buying club soda in the plastic bottles, and all you need to do is have a seat. I don't know if it's going to be. I'm sure it'll be cost effective and save plastic and the environment. And evidently I supported Israel because they're made in Israel.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I think
that a little controversy about that.
I did get this. It's working pretty good. It doesn't make the fart sound like on the video online.
There's something you don't hear very often.
Weird. Mine makes it all the time.
I'm still not sure I'm using it right, but it seems to be working. So. But I only use it for water. But then I got into scotch and sodas. I'm kind of alternating every other day. Not that I drink a lot every day. I hope people don't think that. People probably assume things like, for one, I've heard they think we're in the same room.
Yeah.
I think we've mentioned a few times that they're not listening very carefully. That's fine.
No.
People don't do that with podcasts. They're doing a couple other things at the same time.
Yeah, they're riding around in patrol cars and
no names mentioned. Or jogging or running.
Yeah.
Or doing dishes.
I have listened to one of our episodes in the car while I was
or driving, riding it. Yeah.
I think I skipped a little bit. But.
Sure. Well, we all do. Oh. But yeah, so the scotch and sodas was because we were talking about that in the past episodes, so I thought I'd try it, and it's good. It's refreshing, and it's good. It's a good summer thing, and I never drank scotch in the summer really. I always associated it with the winter for some reason, but it's nice.
I think those are really great in the summer if you stick to the less smoky versions.
Yeah, no, this is just cutty. I don't have I haven't broken down and gotten a Costco membership yet, but
I'm not sure you have one close by. Maybe that's
they were building one. I thought.
Okay.
John's east side and I'm west side. No, other way around. Yeah, whatever.
I'm the west.
You're the west. The west is best. What are you drinking?
I am drinking gin and tonic.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so can you make tonic with a soda stream?
I think you actually can. I don't, however.
You can make tonic syrup because I was at a bar.
God, they make everything themselves now, don't they?
Well, I don't know if right. So this bartender guy. Shoot, what was the name of it? I mentioned I would talk. Inani or something in Mendoberry. No, sorry, Mendota or Mendota Heights on 13, I think. Inani.
Go to your Googler and search Inani. Inonni. If you visit Inani, say hi to Paulie from Time to Lean podcast. He might even remember us.
It's an Italian restaurant, but this bartender is like he makes his own everything, and he's like really experimental and experimentative, even I guess you could say. But he's doing some really really fun cocktails, and I don't know. But anyway, he makes his own tonic syrup, so if I could figure that out, then I could add the club soda to that, and I'm guessing that would be tonic.
I always wonder if you made your own, where do you get the quinine?
I think it's from Australia. No, I don't know.
or his dad used to call it quinine.
Well, what is that? What is? I don't even know what it is.
I think it used to be put into tonic water in the colonial times. As some kind of
it was a medicinal thing. Yeah, sure, right.
But it's still there. They still use it. So I think it's part of what gives it that tartness.
Well, but these other tonics like fever root or something, did they put something in instead of quinine or quinine or what?
Quinine, yeah. I'm gonna refill my glass and I'm gonna grab because I have.
You might as well look at the ingredients.
Elderflower.
Oh, well, that's different. Okay,
so hold on.
I'll be back too.
I'll take you home again, quinine, into my tonic bubbly bright. Molly high.
Yeah, try to use that one.
Whoops.
Different musical, please.
Sweet home Alabama.
Hope Neil Young will be dismembered.
You're listening to episode 6 of Time to Lean, and here's a song. And now a word from our sponsor. Would you please hang up? Stop calling me. Neil Young the Musical. Follow the antics of an old southern man named Dangerbird and his friend Farmer John as 4 strong winds take them to Sugar Mountain. You'll cry, cry, cry if you miss Neil Young the Musical. Feel its staying power on Broadway.
Were you going to Google quinine?
Well, so I looked on my inventory here. Both kinds of tonic that I've got have quinine.
Well, okay. That's a must-have.
Even the elderflower has that. And the stuff I'm drinking now basically just has carbonated water, cane sugar, quinine, citric acid.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's a preservative or a tartness? That's it?
That's
No, wait. So quinine must be...
That must flavor it then.
It must give it that...
So otherwise all it has is sugar. I don't think citric acid really gives you any flavor, so...
Well, tart, sour. Okay. Well,
I think maybe that's the thing you have to have.
Okay, I guess you got to go get some quinine.
Yeah, you can probably buy concentrate of it or something.
I think they now that you mention it, I think there is near Scotts Bluff has a quinine factory.
Nebraska. They make a lot of quinine.
That's
in Nebraska next to the corn.
Right, and they had a flooding, and then the quinine prices went up like 130%.
Wow.
It was kind of like the vanilla in Madagascar, because quinine was only made in Scottsbluff, Nebraska.
I didn't think anything was grown in that. It's pretty.
Scottsbluff, Nebraska. It's pretty. Scottsbluff is a city in Scottsbluff County in the western part of Nebraska in the Great Plains region of the United Soviet States of America. Scottsbluff was named after Hiram Scott, a fur trader with the Rocky Mountain Fur Company, who was found dead in the vicinity on a return trip from a fur expedition, a common occurrence to this day.
I'm trying to remember, why did that even come to my mind? So I had an ex-step grandfather-in-law, and he was married to my grandma at the time.
Remind me, that's down in the western part, like south of Rapid City, right?
I couldn't tell you, but yeah, no, it must not be very far from Rapid City.
No, it's not.
My step grandpa, I guess, really is all you would need to say. He was like an accountant for different tribes on reservations. Oh. So for a while he was there, and for a while he was in Aberdeen, and for a while he was helping doing something with the Seminoles. Oh God, Seminoles in Florida. I can't say anything right after a couple of times of limes. Hey everybody.
Oh, and I'm doing. If anybody's curious, I'm having it's Hendrick's gin.
Okay, now we were talking about Scotland. We were talking about that in another one.
I think we mentioned it because at the time I bought a bottle for my sister to drink when she was here because she likes it.
And I was wondering if they had a hint of cucumber flavor.
I should probably try it by itself because I don't taste it while it's mixed with tonic. But
I could be wrong.
Gin is so one of those things that totally could.
I could be wrong, and maybe I'm associating it with that because somebody had. One of the bartenders around here had made a cucumber martini, I think, and it used that. So maybe I associate it with that, and it doesn't really happen.
Oh, but maybe it brings that out.
Maybe.
Yeah, gin is interesting. I've tried quite a few of them, and I just get to the point though. It's kind of like some of the other non-Scotch liquors that when they get to a certain price, I just don't find it worthwhile.
Well, not if you're going to put a bunch of tonic in it.
Well, or even the ones that I generally
a martini.
buy. Yeah. So I buy gin in two different quality levels. I'll buy the cheap stuff to put in tonic, and then I'll buy expensive stuff for a martini.
Sure.
Yeah, because I almost Winston Churchill the martini where I barely put any vermouth in it.
You just look at the bottle.
And I don't like dirty martinis with a lot of olive brine in them.
Oh, I went through a dirty martini phase.
I just have decided I don't like them, and I even rinse the olive off underwater before I put it in.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty hardcore. I don't want the olive really to get in there much.
What kind of olive? Do you like it stuffed with blue cheese?
Oh, I hate blue cheese. We haven't talked about food too much, but
I never liked blue cheese until probably a year or two ago.
Oh, okay. So you grow into that, huh?
Maybe. Oh, well, I guess I am a tiny bit old. No, you're old. I don't know. Who's older? Am I a month older? You're a month older.
I'm a month older. So
okay. Well,
November
I don't.
Versus December.
I don't get it then.
No, so my big problem, this is all stuff in everybody's heads, so it's not like there's, unless you're allergic, but something else.
Yeah.
It's like with cheese and creamy things.
Yeah.
I don't like real,
Are you talking like a texture thing?
No, not even a texture thing, because there's a certain amount of, drawing a blank. It's like, so if you eat sour cream, for example, there's a certain, it's not tartness, but I don't like that in creamy things, like and that the same reason I don't like gorgonzola and other kinds of cheese like that have that kind of.
I think isn't tart the right word? No,
tart. It's a little bit.
No, because that's more lemony, acidic. Mm-hmm. But it's blue cheese says that. It's not quite like that. You're right.
Like a funk or something. I don't know. There's something about it, and I just don't. for most part, I don't like creamy, savory things. I like a really good sharp cheddar, for example. So, for some reason, that's different to me.
Well, it's not creamy,
Well, it can be, though.
I guess. That's a dream of being creamy.
Well, they're talking about cheese now. Well, I'm glad you found it. Yeah, you don't want it to fall into the wrong hands. I understand. No, Yes, Okay, KFC. All right. I'll pick up a bucket on the way home.
That drives my wife nuts, and just like my hatred of mushrooms.
All right.
And that's more texture than anything else. But
mushrooms, I get that, but there's so many different kinds of mushrooms that you can get now. Maybe there's one you'd like.
Those little stringy ones that they put in hot and sour soup, I don't mind. But
yeah, okay.
But in general, regular mushrooms, this is my brother's term. They have the texture of baby flesh. Which, how do you know they taste like? Speaking of that, congratulations to that same brother.
Yeah,
who's
having babies.
Daughter just was born.
His second baby, and to my knowledge, he hasn't eaten any of them.
No, you might have nibbled on her cheek a little bit.
Sure, well, that happens. Yeah, congratulations.
That's great news.
Yeah, I got to see a picture, and what babies have that kind of little old person look, but I don't know. I guess we come full circle. We start as little old people and end up as old people and end up as babies.
The Star Child. Right. Speaking of the Star Child,
I haven't seen they re-released it.
There's a new 50. This is the 50th anniversary of that movie.
Is it still out in the theaters? Can I still go, or is it too late now?
It's coming to the place near my house that runs 70 millimeter stuff.
Did they add things to it? Because
no.
Somebody was talking about it was too. Maybe they were thinking about it how they remembered it from before, and now it seemed different or something. But it almost seemed like there was extra footage or something, and I never heard
to my knowledge, it has not been touched since.
No, they can't do that to Kubrick.
No, and the thing is,
the
Kubrick
director's
famously threw out all the extra stuff from his movies, so they couldn't do that.
Yeah,
he was pretty smart.
Yeah.
No, I have the only movie that I know of that has extra stuff associated with it is The Shining. There's like an alternate ending that he took off. It's the one where after.
Oh my God! He wanted to end it differently.
No, I think it ended the way he wanted to, but he took off this kind of epilogue scene with Shelley Duvall and the little kid, like in a psychiatrist's office or something like that.
Because they needed that. Oh yeah, they're still alive, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a instead of just it ending with Jack frozen to death. And the little photo, and the little picture, which I think is a great. I'm so glad he did it that way.
No, how else could you end that?
So yeah, no, but that's one of the only times there's any extra stuff, and there's apparently times when during the very first showings of the movie, he would have something changed that he didn't like. But I think once it was actually out, he was settled on the cut. I think he took everything and got rid of it.
Yeah, but he kept everything else, like all the notes.
But he knew people in the movie companies would eventually, fuck it up if he didn't do that.
No,
he really wanted that control.
He was a control freak, or a control person, an auteur, I guess you say. There's a couple really good documentaries about him, or the one is about a guy that worked with him for many years.
Is this recent? I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, have you not seen that? You've seen the Boxes one.
The Boxes one, that's a number of years ago. There's a new one out that I don't remember if it's actually...
It's about his like a personal assistant or whatever.
Yeah, Jan Harlan is the guy's name.
Man, that was another good documentary. But yeah, I mean...
Where did you see that? Because I thought it was a theatrical thing.
I think I saw it on Netflix.
Okay, I got to go look for that.
Somehow I saw it. If it's the same thing, I'm thinking that it's basically about that guy, but you learn a lot about Kubrick in this.
Yeah, he is Kubrick's brother-in-law.
Phil is thinking of the documentary called S is for Stanley. John is probably thinking about the documentary called Film Worker. Glad we cleared that up.
I don't.
If it's the guy where I'm thinking of.
It was a while ago that I saw this, but it was maybe there's more than 2 documentaries about.
There could be. There've been a lot of books, and I mean, he's constantly being studied. But anyway, 50 years though since 2001.
That is really strange.
Yeah,
and the end. I mean, the ending of that movie.
Yeah, that's I mean, the fact that people have such different interpretations of that film is one of the reasons it's so great.
Right.
I've always appreciated it for that.
I saw the movie before I ever read any of the books, but I think if you read the books, I think it indicates some things, but it isn't necessarily because Kubrick adds his own, like, it's Kubrick. So I mean, The Shining is nothing like the book, but Arthur C. Clarke. No. Arthur C. Clarke was heavily involved with it.
Yeah, they're almost two related but different things. The 2001 book and the film.
See, that's the thing with Arthur C. Clarke too. That because if I start an author, I start reading the other books too. But it seemed like with him and the 2001 or Rama or whatever, the initial books are really small, but they have a lot of ideas. And then later on, there's more and more words and fewer ideas. And I don't know if that's... I mean, the books get bigger and bigger and bigger. Nothing against Arthur C. Clarke, God bless him, or Rama, whatever. I guess he was in refuge for a while there.
Well, that was the tag they used to on his little bio blurbs. They would always say "in refuge in Sri Lanka." Which is where he lived. I don't read refuge. What was he a refugee from?
America.
I don't know. No, he was English, wasn't he?
Oh, okay. Sorry. He was probably hiding from Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Let's do a Rama movie.
Speaking of that, I one of those films that I always get a kick out of that. It's probably nostalgia more than anything else, but was the sequel 2010.
I like that too, and I like the soundtrack quite a bit. But it doesn't.
No, they're not the same thing at all. But
no,
I remember it fondly when it came out back in the 80s, and I still enjoy it. It's one of those movies that it's super dated, and I could see why some people really don't like it because it kind of trivializes significant things of the original, or tries to explain too much of it.
Yeah, right.
But it still works well for me, and I just think the cast is good, and it just has a cool little story.
Oh yeah, who was that guy? Roy Scheider.
Roy Scheider, yeah.
Well, he wasn't just
not just Jaws. Yeah,
he's not just
all that
Jaws.
Jazz.
All that jazz. Oh my God, have you that movie?
That's a trip.
That's one of the best movies ever, isn't it? No? Maybe you wouldn't agree.
It's really good. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I probably should re-watch that.
And here's the song!
From fuzzy math to fake news, it's all in the news you choose. Choose the news that reflects your views, and everybody loses. How far we've gone since W, when we all held a few things true. Red was red and blue was blue. Now every fact is doubted. Looking back, Rush was quaint. Billy O was just a taint. But now we have a Pizzagate. How does this make our country great? Those who malign the media, now your right flank, it comes for ya. Performance artists run the show, and now you have no place to go. Go to sleep in the bed you've made, and never